Natalia Grace's mother still claims that 2003 is the birth year, and we've seen a sneak preview of the upcoming series that features Natalia and what she has to say to the Barnetts, and we're going to talk about all that in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. It's right there behind me. It's still the sofa. I hope y'all are doing well. Mr. Roscoe is actually sitting right over here off camera. He hasn't been here for the last few videos. He's been here but just not, not a TV dog. He's just being shy and it's okay. But today we're going to be talking about a little bit more with the Natalia Grace case. Now, you heard from my little opening there that I did. The first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to revisit some of the mother's statements, the biological mother, and some of the things that she said in the docuseries. Just kind of talk about those. And then we're going to look at, it's literally just a few clips of 30 seconds each clip. And this is the sizzler or whatever you call it for the upcoming series of Natalia Grace's side of the story and what she says. What I want to do with that is just listen to it, watch it with y'all, technically, you know what I'm saying, and make some comments on it, because I've been thinking, what do I think we're going to see from this, and I want to see if we're all on the same page or not. Now, also, we're going to talk about some updates and some new series that are coming out, and we'll talk about my opinions on those. So, anyways, you already know, you clicked the video, you probably saw it ain't a long video today, I am sorry, but we've got some very long ones coming up soon, and that's it. So, let's go ahead and start by looking at an article from the Daily Mail that is focused on the interview that we saw in the docuseries with her biological mother. This article is by Chris Jewers, and it was from June 7th, 2023, and it says, adopted child Natalia Grace's biological mother is tracked down in Ukraine and reasserts her claim her daughter was actually born in 2003, making her 19 despite U.S. judge aging her at 22. Now, let's go ahead and jump on into the first thing. Now, this first thing here, I'm just going to kind of summarize the top part, and all it's saying is the biological mother of the adopted Ukrainian dwarf accused of pretending to be a child has again claimed that her daughter is really 19 years old, and therefore she was a young girl when she was taken by an American family. Now, let's move on to this next thing. And this is just a clip, and here you can see the biological mother and one of the little snapshots here. This is via Investigation Discovery, which was also, this is through the Daily Mail article. And this just goes into what we've heard before of Natalia's biological birth mother, Anna Gava, who is confirmed to be her parent after providing a DNA test, has revealed her true age in a new documentary from the ID channel, The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. Okay, we've seen that. We're laying the foundation. Now let's get into this next thing here. Now this is where it's at the very beginning where it says, speaking to the documentary makers via video link from Ukraine, 3 years after proving she is the biological mother of Grace, she has heard explain how she herself was born in 1979. It goes on to say that she reveals her daughter's date of birth, which was September 4th, 2003. And she says she was born at 6:25 a.m. in maternity hospital number 1. She is my biological daughter, which would make her 19 years old. Now down here it says, Gava's appearance in the documentary comes almost 4 years after DailyMail.com tracked her down in 2019 to the Ukrainian city, and I can't pronounce that word, but you can pause to read. Then she said the same thing, that her daughter is indeed still a teenager. So again, she's stuck to the story this whole time. I've got the documents, I've got this, blah, 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 blah. Now, what I want to do now is just read a little bit more. We've kind of been building the foundation to get to this part of how and why she gave her up for adoption. We're going to skip down to the third paragraph here, and it says, she says in the documentary, they showed her to me. The childbirth was difficult as well, very difficult. When I regained consciousness after anesthesia, the next day the doctor came and said, there's no sense to take her home. They said that she won't be able to walk at all, and she will be of very short stature. They said a surgery would cost $100,000, and since you don't have such finances, you also have an older daughter. I already had Julia at the time, and Natasha came after her. She brought me a sample of the waiver on the paper, and I had to write 5 copies of it. I didn't initially want to leave her, but the doctor said there's nothing you could do for her. You are so young, they said. You are 24 years old. Don't ruin your life. You will have other children. Now, what I want to do is just pause there, because it's kind of like what we're building up to, right? Now, again, yes, she has said this along the whole time. This is my daughter, biological. We proved her age. We proved, meaning the mother here, and you know, they have allegedly proved Natalia's age through all this paperwork and stuff. Now, one thing, a common comment that I see a lot is these things can be forged, you know, forged and whatnot. I have no doubt. Here's the thing, anything is possible. Now, also, before we really get even deeper into this, I still stand at this. Do I think that she was the age that the Barnetts are saying? Absolutely not. Do I think she was really the young age that she was? Possibly that age, maybe smudge a couple of years. Here's the thing. So one thing that's interesting is, because I've done a few videos on this docuseries, this case now, via the lens of the docuseries. And so if you follow me from the beginning of it, you'll know that in the beginning I was kind of like, well, I don't know, but... And I kind of erred on the side of like, she definitely, I don't think she was a kid, you know? And now I've gotten down to where I'm like, I'm pretty sure she, you know, her age might have been smudged a little bit, but looking at the age progression of the photos and the evidence of like baby teeth and this and that and blah, 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 I don't see how it's possible that she could have been way older. You know what I'm saying? But it's interesting because some people will see what I'm saying on the first thing and I'm like, wait, I've kind of changed my mind about that, you know, type thing, which is why I keep making videos about it. Because I just keep reading this stuff and whatnot, and it really just changes my opinion and perspective on it. Now, that being said, again, I always stand by this as well. Was I there? No. Do I have tons of questions? Absolutely. Would I be shocked in any direction that this goes in? No, not at all, right? Everyone has a motivation in this, right? Everybody. If you look at like both sides of it, there's so many people involved in this that it's like, pretend we got evidence. It was like, bam, we got it. All these documents were forged. She really was this older person. Think of the trouble and the scandal that a lot of people would get in over that, right? Okay, then flip that over. We got 100% evidence they did this and this test. Those documents were real. She definitely was this age. 2003 is her birth year. Think of the trouble that people would get in over that. So there's a lot of motivation. And when I say the trouble over that, obviously the Barnetts abandoning her, the hospitals, doctors, all sorts of stuff, right? So everyone has a motivation. Now, that being said, so I just wanted to kind of put that out there before we do that. Also keep in mind some of these things that I'm bringing up, because when we watch the few clips here in a couple of minutes about the little, you know, preview of her interview that she's giving to, you know, speak or say her own side of it, I'm going to revisit some of these thoughts. So let's keep going. Now, I wanted to put this other little clip up here of a different article, and this just hits on like the whole thing with the DNA test, that they confirmed that Anna and Natalia were a 99.99% match, the docuseries revealed, and then also this bottom part. Not much is known about Anna's personal life before Natasha's birth. She revealed in the docuseries she was born in Latvia on April 20th, 1979. She grew up with a twin sister named Tatiana, who knew that Anna had agreed to put Natalia up for adoption in America. Anna led a private life after Natalia was adopted. And that's the thing. One thing that kind of baffles me about this, and I'm, again, holding my breath to see the next installment of this that comes out, because there are people that could 100% confirm this, and other tests that could 100% confirm this. So you have to at a certain point say, well, why haven't we heard from these people? You know, like this right here, like somebody could, the sisters could come up and say, now would that make a difference? Would they believe it? I mean, who knows, right? They could be like, no, yeah, this is, you know, how old my sister was, and therefore, you know, yes, we remember when she had so-and-so, or that kind of a thing. Now, a lot of these tests have been done, right? But there's just a lot of stuff out there still, like there's just, whether people think that she's completely lying and she's really at this point, what, 30 something? Or that no, she was a child that was abandoned, right? It's just this gray zone. It's so interesting how it has played out with everybody's opinions. Now, before we watch the little clips, I'm going to put this other news clip up here, and we'll quickly review it, and then, because it's kind of leading us into these clips, so let's go over this. So it says, the first installment of the disturbing documentary portrays Natalia's adoptive mother, Christine Barnett, as an alleged abusive and threatening individual. Then it says, and in a sneak peek at her sensational sit-down interview, Natalia also hits out at Christine, saying she was trying to make it seem like I was just this big crazy person. That's not true. I want to tell people what really happened because I didn't get that chance. Okay, so now, yes, keep the thing about Christine in mind, and we're going to listen to these clips, and then we're going to talk about a couple of things. A lot of just some commentary about this, but also what I think we might see or hear from Natalia. So let's roll the tape.
It's very frustrating to hear everything that's being said from Christine and Michael, and because I already don't know who I am, and I want to know who I am, what happened to me. But I'm hearing all this stuff that never actually happened from Christine and Michael.
Okay, so on this one, first of all, she's very well spoken about this. Now, again, allegedly, I mean, she's going to be like, what, 19 in this? So she's almost 20 years old. If we go by the 2003 date, right? Then here's the thing. So the things that she said in this of, I want to know what happened too. Okay, this is very big to me because these are the questions that I have that I hope to get answered, and just in relation to this. It's so out there in the media. This is your birth mother. This is her, the age, all this drama, all this trauma. Are they in touch? Does anybody know this in the comment section, please? Because that could, I mean, like, why wouldn't you be, right? I too would want to know what happened, right? The mother knows, okay? Now, she doesn't know 100%, most likely, of what happened after that day in the hospital. Again, if this is a true story, and I'm not trying to accuse anybody of lying, but I just really am trying to play devil's advocate on so many different things because you just don't know these days, right? And the story that the mother portrays of, look, I went in, I had this baby, it was this, it was that, the doctors were basically like, nope, you need to go home, this is a lost cause, essentially. I mean, my God, right? I mean, can you imagine? I know this happens. I'm not trying to sound like, I mean, I guess I am sounding naive. I get that this happens and it's horrible and I cannot fathom what that would be like. So for Natalia to hear this and to be like, oh, well, the doctors were like, look, this is going to ruin your life to have this child. I guess in my mind, I'm like, so what were the doctors planning on doing with her? How did she go from there to the Barnetts? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was her journey? And I understand where she would want to know that too. Now, she's sitting here saying, I'm hearing all this stuff that just isn't true from the Barnetts. Again, if you've watched it and whatnot, yes, and I shouldn't say they, Michael, right? It was his perspective was a large part of that. There's a lot of, stuff going on there, right? I don't believe much of what he has to say. So that being said, let's go watch the next clip and we'll talk about a couple of my thoughts with that.
And I'm just like, it's shocking and it's frustrating because that's not true. And people are believing what Christine and Michael are saying without even hearing my side.
And girl, we are here for your side, right? Now, here's my thing. Because when you hear this story, it's so sensational. And I'm talking even before the docuseries, right? When this was hitting the headlines, and again, you have to remember that movie, The Orphan. I'm sorry to compare it, but like when you watch, like that's what nightmares are made out of, right? And it was almost like this just went hand in hand with that narrative. And you're like, oh my God, they had this nightmare kid. They had to leave the country over. They did whatever they could to get rid of her. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you start hearing this, and then you almost have to do a double take to be like, okay, wait, what? Because the messenger, meaning Michael, there's so much going on with him that you just have to stop and say, whoa, something's definitely going on here. What is true and what's not true? So, that being said, with Natalia, and getting ready to tell her story and, this, it just wasn't true. And, okay, we want to know. We want to know what your story is because here's my thing. You got one chance with this, right? I personally think that the ID channel, they set all this up, y'all. And I'm here for it. I bought into it. They put the first thing out and left it off with that cliffhanger and left everyone being like, huh? What? It was told through Michael's perspective, basically one-sided. You already know they were already working on this, and when we talk about the other series that's going on that's been in the works for like over a year and a half, you're like, oh, this is all marketing. You know what I'm saying? So they were already planning on this, and I think that's one reason why, at least in my opinion, when I watch Natalia in this, she comes off as very wooden almost, like in her speech. If you compare her to her speech patterns and like Dr. Phil and whatnot, she was way more relaxed, because part of me was like, well, maybe she's nervous and whatnot. And this could have been the part where they're like, look, this is going to be like the preview we put out there. So it was more forced, if you will, right? Because some of the things she hits on does feel like, did they tell you to say that? You know, kind of a thing. But again, it could be like in reality TV where they film a scene and they're like, we need you to walk in the door again, you know, kind of a thing. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm just going on. Let's watch the nice clip.
This is my side of the story. And I'm gonna say what happened because I never got a chance to say what happened. Y'all have heard Christine and Michael and what they have said. But you need to hear both sides in order to know what really happened.
Alrighty. Now that whole part where she's like, this is my side of the story, I felt like that was like, okay, did they tell you to say that part? But I mean, it is her side of the story. Here's the thing. If you watch the docuseries, and at the very last episode where it's alluded that there might have been some SA activity going on from Michael. Now here's the thing. Y'all, we can't discount Christine either, right? You saw, if you watched it and you saw that whole thing with the other little person that she was dealing with, and that whole conversation, text messaging and whatnot that went on, it was very like, what kind of a thing. So y'all, anything's possible, okay? So I'm not trying to just put it all on Christine's like, who knows what happened in the household. Here's what I think. I think that we are going to get some form, I don't know if it's an allegation or a bombshell or something like that, you know, coming from Natalia. I think at minimum, we are going to hear nightmarish type things of probably physical abuse, something like that, because there's just so much going on in the docuseries with like things that you heard from the oldest son of the Barnetts, that last episode they did where they cut it off and Michael's like, I don't want to talk anymore and all this. And then some of the allegations from the neighbors. So I've always wondered where I was like, did something take place? And again, just my opinion, not a fact. Not a doctor, not an investigator, just a sofa opinion here. Did something take place in that household that they had to, outside of behavior, but you know, besides hers, that they had to create a narrative to be like, oh no, she's 22. You see where I'm going with that? I don't know, but I feel like we're going to get some theme with that, because why would they have left the last episode of the docuseries on that note with this really creepy, you know, we're not saying somebody was SA'd, but we're very heavily alluding to it and creating that context. You know, and again, just the way that she said, you know, I'm going to say what happened, what really happened, and that could be anything, right? So, I mean, who knows? She might not even say that, but I just feel like there's a reason for that stuff. Now, that being said, let's jump to a couple of more articles real quick. Now, I wanted to put this article up here to show y'all, to encourage you to click the link in the description and read this article yourself. It is by Claire Spellborg-Lutig, I hope I'm saying her name right, Prime Timer, and she's basically written this article. You can see ID can rectify its mistakes with this Natalia Grace follow-up documentary. A lot of what I'm talking about in this video is similar to this article, like this writer's thought processes on, look, this was like one-sided, you know, this was Michael's version, so let's see what does Natalia have to say. And again, the link's down below, but I also wanted to just use this as a segue into the next article, because also in here is where I found, oh wait, Hulu, and this is the second line here, Hulu's currently developing a scripted take on the case starring Ellen Pompeo in her first post-Grey's Anatomy TV role as Christine Barnett. Okay, so we're going to go segue into the last article here, which goes a little bit deeper into this. But again, I encourage you to go read this person's article because it's a fast read, but it's also an interesting perspective on the case, on the docuseries, and what we should hope to see, right? Okay, so on the screen here, this is by Neely and Driva. Ellen Papio to star in EP Orphan Adoption Limited Series, green lighted by Hulu. Now, I wanted to put this part up here of it, these couple of paragraphs, because I thought there's some interesting information in here. So we're just going to read through here and then do some final thoughts. So it says the limited series was created and written by Kate Robbins, The Affair. And here is the log line, inspired by the true story of a Midwestern couple who adopts what they believe is a little girl with dwarfism. As they begin to raise her alongside their 3 biological children, they slowly start to believe she may not be who she says she is. As they question her story, they are confronted with hard questions of their own about the lengths they're willing to go to defend themselves, falling into a battle that's fought in the tabloids, the courtroom, and ultimately their marriage. Now jump down to the last thing. The project has been in the works at Hulu for a year and a half. Mike Epps and his managers Dan Spilo and Niles, I can't say his last name, had originally obtained the rights to Michael Barnett's story before taking the idea to the Disney-controlled streamer. Hulu optioned the rights to Michael Barnett in January 2021, and Robbins was brought in to rewrite the script. Pompeo came on board earlier this summer. Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, they bought the rights to Michael Barnett's story. What does this tell you? It's going to be his version. This is what gives me pause with this, right? Because I'm like, now, here's the thing. Will I watch it? Absolutely. Okay, I'm sorry, I will. But, got me, take my money. But already I'm like, oh, okay. And like the little first paragraph we read through, like, it's clearly going on the basis of she's older, kind of a thing. Again, this is going to be like a fictionalized, I call them fictionalized versions of it because it's like blended in with the truth and whatnot. So if it does turn out that we got definitive, like 100% she was really that age, this doesn't do any good, right? Here's the thing. The story, it depends on, okay, take out the fact that these are real people for a second. I'm not discounting them, but I'm just trying to get us there. When you're looking at something from the perspective of television and stories and this and that, think of The Orphan, the movie, that type thing. How sensational is it that a real life situation like that happened, right? That's far more fantastical than the other version, which is more horrifying, but still, obviously headline worthy of couple adopts child, gets sick of them, puts child up in an apartment and abandons them and goes to Canada. You do the math on that, right? Now, either one of those is like, oh my God, but it's way more sensational, this version of it, and especially because it's through the lens of Michael. So here's some of my final thoughts on this. Again, like I said before, this is Natalia's chance to tell her side of the story. I am sitting here all ears. I want to hear what really happened of her memory in this home. Like, this is what I know. Other things I want to know, she would have to, in my opinion, remember where she was before the Barnetts, meaning that home right before. Yeah, well, I was doing this on the weekends. Now, do I expect her to have crystal clear memory? No. But there's some blurriness that I got along the way that I'm willing to say, you know what? Because this has gone on for so long and these things have been in the works and this and that, they could have had contracts where they can't talk about this or that, or you see what I'm saying? Trauma, who knows, right? I would think at this point in time, with all that has gone on, she would have been in contact with people, communicating this type thing for a support group to come around to be like, no, she really is. 2003 was her birthday. Here's this, that, and the other. You see where I'm going with this? And we've seen that in some fashion, but for Natalia to have her own rebuttal, however you say that word, to the docuseries, these are things I wanted to hear come out of her mouth naturally, right? Look, here is this. This is what I did. I don't remember blank, but I know I was going to see this couple on the weekends, and then that fell through. I don't know why. This is what happened. you see where I'm going. And then I ended up in the Barnetts. Christine was, doing whatever horrible things that she's, claims that she did. Michael was being weird. Whatever the case is, all the way up until this is how it went down when I was re-aged, because my understanding is she didn't really even know what was going on, according to her and other people. Like they kind of did this almost like a hush-hush type thing. And then also her side of the story from what it was like being in the apartment, what she was doing with the neighbors and stuff. There's so many things of her side that I kind of want to hear that was put into the docuseries, but I feel like I need answers for that to finish, not really coming up with my opinion, because my opinion keeps changing, but to inform my overall thoughts even more. So anyways, we're going to be on the lookout for this. The interview is coming out sometime over the summer, and y'all, I'm like, it's summer, can we please get it? I'm dying, because I feel like that's going to not finish it for me, but it's going to put everything into like I have what has been presented in this media format as the full story from this over here. From Hulu, they interviewed Michael and all them, and now they interviewed Natalia, so here's Hulu's version of events. You see where I'm going with that? And I can make an informed, complete decision on that. Now, obviously, we will keep following this as it goes. And, reporting on things like that and whatnot. So just stick around for that. And again, if you can add anything to this conversation, drop it in the comments. Make sure to throw it out there, because I do read through them and see, kind of go from there or whatnot. Anyways, I appreciate y'all hanging out and watching, and until we gather around my little Coke Zero and this conversation continues about little Natalia Grace and how old she really is, I'll see y'all soon.